Hello and welcome to Cars Like Your Car Brochure channel, and in today's Ford Friday we'll be looking at the Ford Granada Ghia. Hello and welcome back, and if you're new to Cars Like, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. So if you think that might interest you as a car brochure collector or just a car enthusiast, please consider subscribing. Anyway, back to today's episode. Yes, we're going to be looking at the 1974 Ford Granada Ghia. So let's just jump straight into that. Okay, and I've just kind of like zoomed straight in on the brochure, as it's kind of like a very plain cover actually, just quite simply saying the Ford Granada Ghia, because this is just featuring the Ghia model and just the four-door saloon as it says here. Above it is kind of like the Ghia logo. It's kind of like embossed on there, so it's a little bit raised up, so it's a little bit fancy. Hard to see on camera though, but because of the colour I've had to zoom in because it soon goes out of focus when I zoom out, because it's such a plain cover. Anyway, let's move on and have a look inside the front cover. So when we open the page, again it's a very plain, isn't it? One side there we can just about make out the embossed front cover, and then on the other side it just says style, Italian style, and words, because this is a very wordy brochure. So what we'll do, we'll just zoom in a little bit further, and this black area is actually just like half a page, so a bit of a flap. So let's just open that up. And inside that we get this little bit of a rather lovely little Ghia badge on that sort of vinyl roof. Let's just zoom in on the text a little bit. It says here, Italian design skill has long been recognised in many fields, none more so than in car styling and design, where Italian studios have been prominent. Now one of the most famous Italian designers, Ghia of Turin, has joined forces with Ford to give them the best of both possible worlds. The welding of Italian flair in styling and design craftsmanship to Ford's unrivaled skill in engineering and production. The first model to come from this union is the new Ford Granada Ghia, where tasteful exterior styling and sumptuous interior furnishings have been combined to put the Granada Ghia in a class of its own. So we're really introducing that Ghia badge here. And then we get this rather lovely image of the Granada Ghia, 3-litre badge on the side, these unusual wheel trims, of course that Ghia badge at the back on that vinyl trim. Number plate, obviously not the right number plate for this car, it looks like it's just been drawn on, but it does look an amazing car. I love all the chrome work on there, a little bit of a rear quarter light at the back there, but a really nicely proportioned car that looks really good in Ghia trim. We will just pick out a few points from the text as well. So it says here, the styling of the Granada Ghia is every inch that of a luxury car. At the front, the new grille and headlamp surround give a low, clean line to the bonnet, which is in turn accentuated by the aluminium body side mouldings with its colour matched vinyl inserts. The front bumper too has generous proportions and features wide section rubber inserts, and the whole of this new front end is set off by halogen headlamps and fog lamps. The extensive use of colour-keyed vinyl has helped to create a sense of harmony in the design. In addition to the body side mouldings, the roof, pillars and back panel are all covered in matching vinyl, and there is a colour match treatment to the wheel covers to complete the overall effect. The Ford Granada Ghia has its own unique badging on the grille, the rear pillar and the boot top. The distinctive Ghia symbol marks the car as the top model in the Granada range. Add to this a heated rear window, tinted glass windows all round to keep out the glare, and a sliding steel roof to let in the sun, and it's easy to see why this Granada Ghia sets the style in luxury motoring. And then going back to that main image, because it is a lovely image, we can see all that chrome and that lovely grille on there. Those interesting wheel trims are indeed colour matched, as you can see in the centre, and we've also got a glimpse of that lovely 3-litre badge. Open the next page, we have a look at the interior. It does look a lovely place to be for a 1974 Ford, so let's just zoom in a little bit further. First, starting with that rear seat, you can see a little bit of a wood around the window there at the bottom of the window, and we can also see that centre armrest, very sort of padded sort of rear door cards as well, with that huge rear handle on there. And when we move down, we can see the rear of the seats with this mat pocket on. Certainly look very nice seats, and I certainly prefer these sort of seats to more modern leather designs actually. And then the front seats with those big headrests on there, we can see a little bit of a touch of wood. I think we'll probably see a better picture later on. And also we can see that this model is an automatic. Okay, and the text is actually quite wordy, so we're not going to read it all, but it starts by saying the new interior of the Ford Granada Ghia represents not merely a new look with its elegant appointments, but a completely new standard in driver and passenger comfort. From top to bottom, the whole interior of this car is covered with colour-keyed materials, giving a feeling of luxury quite unlike any car in its class. The large contoured seats with adjustable head restraints are upholstered in Beaumont fabric, which is soft and pliable to the touch but hard wearing. The trim is continued over the door panels and armrests, pillars, partial shelf and headlining. This, together with the extensive use of sound insulation material, makes the Granada Ghia one of the quietest cars on the road. The carpets too are new, deep cut pile fitted with foam underlay in the footwells and continued up onto the door trim and cowl side panels. And it goes on to tell you other things like the boot is carpeted as well, and then goes on to say there's other materials there like wood, which we kind of like spied at as well. Then we turn the page and we get more lovely images of the interior as well as this front shot, but let's start by looking at those other little key points of the interior. So we get a bit of an image of this automatic lever control, as well as this unusual digital clock, which again, it has a second look at it, because I'm sure in 1974 that must have looked quite futuristic. And then we have a little bit of a look at the door cards, of course the manual windows, and we'll just zoom back a little bit, that lovely dashboard and gear steering wheel. The wood on it, I must admit, doesn't look the highest quality. It does look a bit cheap and nasty, dare I say it, but overall it certainly is a classy car for its time. There is a little bit of an image of that sunroof, manual of course, and then we got a little bit of an image of the boot area. I do love the rear of the this particular model of Granada, I must admit. One of my favourites of all the Granadas. And then we get this big front image and another look at that quite imposing front grille. Text, again, it's quite wordy, so we're not going to read it all, but it kind of talks about this new Ford automatic transmission as it describes it. It's standard, and this is ideal for use with the 3-litre engine. Smaller and more efficient, the new box has 2 additional features. Emergency engine braking can be achieved by manually selecting first gear at speeds up to 40 miles per hour, and zero throttle braking ensures progressive change down to speeds of 20 and below, which sounds like a bit of an unusual little feature. And if we go down a little bit further, again it's quite wordy, so I'm not going to read through all this, but it kind of like tells you some of the features, you know, inertia reel, seat belts, things you would expect really, to be honest with you. It also tells you about the blank push button radio with twin speakers, and balance control is all standard. And remember, this time you weren't guaranteed to get well, you're probably more likely not to get a radio on a car in 74. And at the end it just concludes by saying at the end the Ford Granada Ghia reflects the care Ford has taken in producing it and the pride you'll take in owning it. And then we turn the page and again we get another lovely image of this particular example in this rather nice bronzy colour, which I think really suits it. Again highlighting the car and showing what a beautiful large car, and certainly a car to aspire to at the time for many people, I'm sure. Then we turn that half page over and we get the specifications, so let's have a look at that now. So if we zoom in for the Granada Ghia, it tells you a little bit about the body, then tells you it's available as a 4-door, obviously it's the 4-door example. Engine, that 3-litre V6, transmission, auto transmission with T-bar, floor mounted gear shift, split drive shaft. And then a little bit of information about the brakes. It has got disc brakes at the back, but remember this is 74, so it's got rear drums, and a bit of information about that rack and pinion steering, but it is power assisted. Information about the suspension, so front independent with double wishbone isolated by rubber mountings, coil springs lubricated for life ball joints, subframe mounted anti-roll bar, and at the rear independent semi-trailing arm, coil spring type with 2 plunging constant velocity joints on each half shaft. Whole unit mounted on bonded rubber isolators to the body. Wheels and tyres, yeah, they are just steel wheels, but I do particularly like those sorts of lovely wheel trims with the colour matched centre. This centre column here is exterior equipment. It's quite wordy, so I'm not going to read it all, but of course you can pause the screen at any time. If we just move down a little bit further, it's telling us, fog lamps, uniquely styled grille, headlamp surrounds and bonnet mouldings. Vinyl roof, either black or tobacco. If we just move down a little bit further, it does also tell us about those distinctive wheel covers with colour matched paint treatment, which looks really nice. We do also get that sliding sunshine roof, which would have been a manual unit, tinted glass, heated rear windows, and chrome exhaust trim and those Ghia badging. Interior equipment is, as you would imagine, even wordier than the exterior equipment, so again I'm not going to read it all, but think very well equipped for a Ford in 1974. Of course you can read any of this if you pause the screen if you really do want to. Moving down, we get things like a leather covered steering wheel. What else do we get? Of course we got that push button radio. Moving down a little bit further, fully reclining front bucket seats. Individual design rear seats with fold-away centre armrests, all in luxurious Beaumont fabric trim, of course. It does also interestingly tell us later on the headline and sun visor, all finished in matching Beaumont fabric. If black fabric trim is specified, the seat facings, headlining and armrests only will be finished in fabric. A little bit unusual. Moving down a little bit further, obviously vast amounts of equipment for 74. I'm sure if you're looking at this car in 74 you'd be like, wow, it's got all these things, including a digital clock. Even comes with a luggage compartment light, which sounds like today you go, of course it does, but not all vehicles at that time did. Engine data, so it's a 2994cc V6 engine. It also gives you some information about the bore, the stroke and the compression ratio. We also have the maximum power and the maximum torque featured there as well. 0 to 60 for the auto saloon, 10.1 seconds, so not bad for 74 on such a large car. Maximum speed, not bad either, 110 miles per hour. So options you could specify would be metallic paint. There's also a sports road wheel you could have as well. Shame it doesn't show a picture of those. Radial ply tyres and a laminated windscreen. And right at the end of the brochure we do have a date here for March 1974. So there we go, that is the 1974 Ford Granada Ghia. What a car it was. Any memories of these, please jot that down in the comments. Always very interesting to read. Do you like this generation, or is there another generation Granada you prefer? Always love reading that sort of things. But thank you so much for watching today. Have a great weekend. Look out for tomorrow's Saturday episode where we'll be looking at a special edition model. But for now we'll say thank you for watching, do take care, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.